I really try to bring in authentic Indian yoga. And we also try to bring in all of the other elements that come along with yoga, such as the connection between the breath and the body, the connection between the quiet mind and the stillness and the silence, so that it's not just a fitness class, but I also want to wake up your mind and I want to wake up that awareness within you.
Hey everyone, you're watching the Lively Charleston Podcast. Our goal with the show is to interact with and tell the stories of the amazing people, places, and businesses that make Charleston the best city in the world.
If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube.
And check us out on Instagram and Facebook, where we post content regularly throughout the week. Thanks so much, guys. Hope you enjoy the episode.
I am very excited with today's guest. She is a seasoned entrepreneur who built and successfully operated a veterinary hospital for 23 years with her husband, all while raising 4 children, one of which she adopted when she was 44 years old. Now, she is the owner and head yoga instructor of Powerglow Yoga, located in Mount Pleasant, with a second location in the works. She prides herself on being a conscientious mother who just wants her kids to be smart, humble, and kind. Ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to introduce my Yoda of yoga, Vedrana Gjivoje. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for having me, Scott.
Absolutely.
What a lovely introduction.
Yeah. I work hard on that.
Thank you.
No. It's my pleasure. So, first thing I wanted to touch on, you are a woman of many skills. Veterinarian,
yes.
Yoga instructor,
Yes.
mother, of course.
Yes.
And one thing that I found really cool was you're trilingual,
I am.
right? So 3 different languages.
Yes.
How does someone acquire so many skills?
Well, so I was born in Croatia, so that's my mother tongue.
Mm-hmm.
I moved to the United States and I've lived here for 45 years-ish. So I had to learn to speak that one. And then in school, I studied French.
Okay.
And, I traveled around in the summer times in Europe. So went to France numerous times, got to practice. And it's a little on the dormant side now. But technically speaking, if I needed to plummet in Paris and talk to somebody, I could probably find my way around.
Okay.
Yep.
And you were born in Dubrovnik, Croatia.
Yes.
All right. I was practicing that in my best Ivan Drago voice earlier.
Yes.
So
Dubrovnik.
Dubrovnik.
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. Well, cool. Well, we are going to talk about your business and everything you're up to these days.
Sure.
But I want to steal a quote from you when you were kind of helping us prepare for the episode.
Sure.
You mentioned your childhood being a bit rocky, and how you came to the USA. And this is the quote: as a fat, non-English speaking 9-year-old with a strange name.
Correct.
So first of all, I know kids can be brutal. And,
3rd grade was really rough.
Was it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Did you
Got teased a lot, boys picking on me in recess, trying to say my name, poking my belly. And, and half the time I didn't even know really what they were saying, but you can tell from body language that it wasn't very nice.
Right. And you being non-English speaking too, I bet that was super scary.
Yes, it was very unnerving all day. I had to go to school, but I didn't really want to go to school.
Right.
But I was smart, and in Croatia, the elementary school is ahead of the U.S. system. So, in 3rd grade, I was already at 4th grade math. So the teachers were fast, and we did math differently. So I can't remember now, but we did math and we did addition and subtraction and multiplication differently. So I would get to go to the chalkboard and model however the method was, and the teachers gobbled it up, and the students watched it on. So I got a little bit of respect because I was smart.
Okay.
And I caught on quickly.
Yeah. No, that sounds. I remember. I don't know if you know this, but I was born in California and then moved to the South when I was about 7.
Mm-hmm.
Moved to Memphis, Tennessee, and California was behind.
Oh.
Yeah. I was really, really far behind in 1st grade.
Wow.
Yeah, I
had to catch up.
Tutors, things like that. So mine was a little bit opposite experience, but scary. All the.
Anytime you're a kid and you're different, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, for sure. So, how would you say that experience affected you today?
Well, I think number one, I got comfortable with being uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. I'm sure in an unawares way at the time when I was growing up, but you just learn how to manage that discomfort and the anticipation of an uncomfortable situation. Mm-hmm. Two, I think by the time I got to college, I kind of grew. So I gave myself a wrong nickname, right? So my name was Vedrana, and I wanted to fit in, and I decided to give myself the nickname of Vendy with a V, thinking it was Wendy, but I didn't know any different. So I made a mistake. Oh, wow. So even though in the nickname I was trying to give myself something that fit in, I accidentally picked something that was awkward in a slightly less so way. So I always had to struggle with my name, but there's a great Bruce Springsteen song, I forget the name, I think it's The Tunnel of Love, that says you have to learn to live with what you can't rise above.
Yes.
And you learn to live with the thing that you have to carry around with you. And so I had to carry around the burden of having a different name until I got to college, when everybody had a different name. And then it was like eureka relief.
Or wanted a different name.
I
knew so many people when you go in college, you're in those strange, like, liberal type of thinking.
Yes.
Maybe I'm labeling that
wrong.
God,
and I was in the
but
liberal
everybody
mecca
wanted
of the world.
To be different.
Right.
Right.
So it was easy. So I just think that you learn to live with the things that you have to carry around, and then you learn how to be comfortable in them and how to maneuver through.
Yep.
So obstacles have, I guess, been maybe just easier to carry, having had obstacles early on as a kid.
Yeah, most definitely. And I've had this conversation with a lot of people in my life. Jeremy, my business partner, one of them, I kind of had a pretty easy, formative years. Like, I was captain of the football team, stuff like that. Like, things went very smoothly for me. Had a few moves that kind of were tough, but I acclimated very well, right? So, and it's interesting to see, as I got older, what was more difficult for me.
Right.
Maybe
the challenge is you have to go through that awkwardness maybe just later on.
Yeah. Yep.
Right.
Yeah. So
it was smoother sailing.
It's interesting.
Before.
Yeah. And then something else you shared also was you have some definite formative figures in your life growing up, and you listed your parents as the anti.
Oh my God! I hope they don't listen to this.
Oh. As the anti-role model.
So it's just so funny. My parents are lovely people in many ways, and they're two incredibly smart people. My mom's a physician, and my dad's was a very successful, powerful businessman. But they were not very, what I would call, aware people. Mm-hmm. I don't think they really ever looked at, I don't know. They weren't very introspective. At least that's the way that appeared to me. And I felt like as I grew up and I watched, first of all, personal decisions they made for themselves, but then the way they parented me and my brother, there was a lot of discord. I was like, okay, note to self, don't do that. I could have just started a book of when I become a mom, these are the things that I don't want to do. This is what I'm not going to do with my kids. And I guess that's the other side of the coin of therefore, then what will I do? Mm-hmm. But I looked at it more in terms of, bad decision. Let's do it differently.
Let's do it
when I
opposite.
Get right.
Yeah.
And it's funny. They're in their 80s now, and they're very consistent. And I'm still making that list of what not to do when I'm 80 years old.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, so the diving into yoga makes a lot of sense. Then
yes,
or discovering it, right? Going, okay, so mom and dad seem to be wrapped up in work and maybe social life, and
they were just wrapped up into themselves,
keeping up into themselves and
the external world, and
right?
Yes,
would that be
all
fair
about
to say?
not airing out the dirty laundry.
Yes.
God forbid people knew actually what was happening inside the house.
Right.
That was always more important than what was happening in the house. And who was coming to dinner was more important than the fact that we were there for dinner. So just, it's not, I think we had different values. I think at the end of the day, what I ended up discovering for myself is that we just had different value systems. And that I was going to focus on my values rather than adopt whatever values they were trying to shove down my throat.
Yeah. So in a roundabout way, they kind of opened that door up for you for...
I mean, you could say they taught me indirectly.
Yeah. An indirect
right?
way. Yeah, exactly.
It's school nonetheless.
So another question I had was, you mentioned your au pair.
Yes.
Was that...
Bianca.
Now, Bianca was your caregiver or somebody? I just wanted some clarification.
No, not my caregiver. So when I had my babies, I had 2 boys back to back.
Okay.
14 months apart, and I was drowning. As a working mom, and as a new mom, and I didn't want to send my kids to daycare, so I just brought someone into the house. Yeah. And I had I had lovely au pairs, but I had this lovely young woman from Romania. And she was very spiritual and pretty self-aware for someone who was, I think she was barely 20 years old.
Wow.
And I was in almost my 40s, or I was in my mid-30s. And I forget, somewhere along the way, she said something like, be the change you wish to see in the world. And at the time, I didn't even know it was Gandhi's words. But it just stuck with me. Yep. It just stuck with me. And it's sort of, as my journey has unfolded, it's kind of been my guiding principle, right?
Yeah, almost like your mantra,
You can't talk the talk,
right?
You got to walk the walk.
Right. When did you start doing or practicing yoga?
So whenever I was 45, I don't know, do the math. I was born in 65, and then I did yoga. I started yoga at 45.
Okay.
Studio opened down the road from my house, so it was like a no-brainer. Yeah. I could almost roll out of bed and roll into the studio. And it was hot. It was a hot yoga studio. And it was my first foray into yoga. And I walked in there, and I started in a warm class with Alex. And so that was a gentle invocation into yoga. And after a couple of months of that, I started going to the hot classes. And I was like, oh, my God, I didn't die. Oh, my God, they were trying to kill me, but I didn't die. Except then I got addicted to this whole notion of they're trying to kill me, but I'm not dying. I must be stronger than I think I am. And that became the hook.
Yeah.
Right. I started to realize at 45 that not only am I not soft.
Right.
I'm pretty damn.
You're strong.
Wicked strong.
Yeah.
And that just drew me in.
Isn't that freeing? It's like a liberating, just powerful feeling.
Absolutely. And again, right, from my parental role model of, well, you can't do this and you can't do that and you're limited in this way, right? I mean, all of life. You're constantly met with you're short here and you're short there and you don't have enough for this and you have too much for that, right? There's always a shortcoming.
Yeah.
There's a reason why you can't do something or you don't have enough of something. And this was like the one place where I could go, and the only limit was me.
Yeah.
You know, when the teacher said the only limitation that you have is the one that you place on yourself, it was a huge epiphany that went off into my head. And I thought, well, if I can do these really difficult things in a pool of sweat in 104 degrees on this yoga mat as a pudgy 45-year-old who has 3 kids at home, I can do anything.
Sure.
And that was just the gateway to a lot of self-freedom.
Yeah.
And a lot of self-confidence that had been lacking.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see where that would be huge. Something to propel you.
Absolutely.
You know, my very first class that I took with you, you brought out the book Journey to the Heart.
Yes.
I've read that before.
That's so cool.
I have it. It's next to my bed. And so for those of you who have not been to Vedrana's class, like she'll, at the beginning of the class, she'll bring out that book and have you turn to a page, and you'll ask what, left or right.
Right.
You know?
Correct.
Yeah. And she'll read from it, and it's always something that separates, I don't know, truthfully, I don't know what separates. Personally, you're the only yoga studio I've ever been to. So it's interesting because I ask other members and they're like, oh my gosh, it's very different. And because you have the sayings on the ceiling, very like be present, different sayings on the ceiling, on the walls, everywhere you look, you have encouragement. And then what else would you say that's different, that separates you from maybe other yoga studios in the area?
So here in the Charleston area, so we're a hot yoga studio, so that definitely separates us on like a very face value level, right? But within that, I really try to bring in authentic Indian yoga.
Right.
Okay. Not gimmicky, trendy, sexy yoga aerobics or yoga sthenics, right? Where you're doing fitness with a side of yoga. Mm-hmm. You're really doing yoga.
Right.
And we also try to bring in all of the other elements that come along with yoga, such as the connection between the breath and the body, the connection between the quiet mind and the stillness and the silence. Really the whole three-dimensional philosophy, right? So that it's not just a fitness class. And the reason why this is magical for me is, I mean, I started exercising because I was super fat when I was young. I started exercising when I was 12. My mother took me to my first aerobics class when aerobics first came out. Mm-hmm. And then I went through the whole gamut of aerobics and Jane Fonda and stepping and body pump classes and kickboxing and Zumba and swimming and running, and then I ended up, the last thing I was doing was spinning. Mm-hmm. But all of them were, okay, at the time they were all just fitness, right? And so after months or years, I would get bored, and they never really did anything for my whole spiritual journey, for my whole mindfulness, quiet, stress, and life got more stressful as time went along. And when I landed in that hot yoga studio with those teachers, and they would speak to me, and they would use a book, or they would come in with a reading, and so here was this hardest fitness class I've ever taken. Mm-hmm. Yet I would walk out completely blank in my mind, meaning I had rested my brain for 75 minutes, didn't think about my life and my stressors, and then I had a kernel of something meaningful or poignant that I would go and think about, and I would think about it throughout the week. Mm-hmm. And it was like this whittling process of chiseling all of the crud that had accumulated on me over the decades. And little by little, it just wore that away, and it made me to think. Mm-hmm. And so we incorporate that into our classes as well, right? It's intended to be an entire mind, body, spirit experience, right? I want to wring you out like a sponge physically, but I also want to wake up your mind, and I want to wake up your soul, and I want to bring that awareness, and that I want to start to wake up that awareness within you. I want to start to wake up your mindfulness. I want you to start thinking about deeper things in your life and really where you're going for the rest of the journey that you have before you.
I love it. I want my kids, like I'm working on getting my teenagers and my 20-something in there, because I see my 20-somethings waking up, and my 16-year-old not so much.
Right. Teenagers are hard.
She's just too busy doing, whatever.
Same with my teenagers.
But that's great. But I highly recommend yoga for like people like where I came from. I came from the CrossFit. Bodybuilding type world, and CrossFit did open up some doors for me as far as I learned how far I could push myself. And this is after like sports, like high school and college sports and things like that, because I think everyone, when you reach the end of that, you kind of drop down. I don't know. I can't speak for everybody, but it kind of helped wake me up again, but open some doors to possibilities and how hard I could push myself again at a certain age, yes. And then now.
And in a slightly different modality.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And then finding yoga at your studio has completely opened up a whole different realm for me. So those of you who do a lot of spinning, bodybuilding, CrossFit, functional fitness stuff, try yoga.
It's really the yin and the yang.
Yeah.
Right? That's kind of a grind that really focuses on strength, which is great because you need to be strong, right? Especially as you age. But that's if that's all that you do, ultimately you end up limiting yourself.
Right.
And you need the yang to be able to tone and be lithe and really, again, modulate your stress as time goes on. And I just, in that hot yoga room, I feel like the easiest example for me is, people walk into the yoga room and their life is X at that moment. And then they take the class and they walk back out, and that same X is there. None of that has changed, but you changed within that hour, and you walk out with a totally different perspective.
Yeah.
That lasts for a little while, and then you go back and you take another class, right? It's like an ebb and flow.
Yep. Yeah, no, I totally understand that, and I experience it all the time. Good. So you're very successful at what you're doing. So, what stereotypes would you want to address, crush, kind of get rid of about practicing yoga?
Oh, lots. So first of all, anyone who thinks that yoga is easy is super wrong. Yoga is really hard, and it's hard physically and mentally. In fact, because it's difficult mentally, I challenge you. It's a double challenge, okay? I can go with the best person on any kind of weightlifting or running thing, and okay, maybe you can outrun me, but you have to have that mental. Ultimately, it forces you to wrap your head around that mental stillness and that discipline. So yoga is not hard. I mean, yoga is not easy, neither physically nor mentally. Number two, the most common excuse or the most common explanation I hear for, I can't come to the studio to do yoga is I'm not limber, I'm not flexible. Well, that you're not so necessarily supposed to be. That's why you come there, right? So perfect example is if someone said, well, I can't go to dance class. I don't know how to dance.
Right.
But you go to dance class to learn how to dance.
Exactly.
Right. I can't play the piano. I can't play the piano.
Yeah.
You take piano lessons to play the piano. So you come to yoga.
To practice, right?
To practice and to develop the skills. And so it's the same thing with yoga. You have to know nothing in order to come in and just be open-minded to allow yourself to be the student. Yoga is not for men, or yoga is for sissies. No. Again, anyone who thinks that yoga is for sissies, please come to my class Saturday morning at 8:30, and I promise you will rid yourself of that misconception within 75 minutes.
Yep, I agree.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Or that you have to be the 25-year-old lithe pretzel in order to come to yoga. No, you don't. You can be really any age, any body type. And as long as you're not really seriously ill from something chronic or something serious, we can find a way to work it in for you.
Yep, absolutely. Something that I think is really cool, and I touched on it earlier, but you're a veterinarian.
I am.
Working on small animals.
Dogs and cats.
Right? I've heard that that's probably maybe even more difficult than some med schools or programs you go through because you're dealing with different types of animals.
Well, I have
different anatomies.
I have multiple species.
Right? Multiple species,
And I have to cover all the body systems. I'm not just the dermatologist or just the urologist or just the nephrologist. I have to do it all.
Right.
I'm the pediatrician and the gerontologist.
Right. So one of the things that I just find fascinating about you, and one of the reasons why I wanted you to come in, because I just find it really neat that you're very scientific, very factual, but then you have this whole spiritual Zen side of you that's searching. And I just...
we're all searching.
I agree.
We're all searching. Some of us know we're searching, and others are searching unknowingly or consciously.
Right.
I think each of us will come if we're lucky and we have the wherewithal. Life will take us to that place at some point in our journey, and for some people it comes in 20s, and other people's it comes in their 80s, right? And then there's everything. We're all searching.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of when you realize that you're searching, and then what are you searching for, and how are you going to get there?
Right.
Sorry, but I cut you off, so I apologize.
No, please. Yeah, so since you have been in the professional realm and you are running I don't even want to call it a labor of love, because
it's a total labor of love.
Well, labor, I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a work of love.
It's a work of love.
Right? So what would you have to say to somebody who wants to make that jump, maybe from one thing to the next, to follow their dream?
I think you have to I think whatever you are going to delve into, you have to be passionate about it. Mm-hmm. So if it doesn't sit, in your core, I don't know. You're probably not necessarily gonna. I'm sure there's people out there who fake it till they make it. Right. That's just not who I am. So for me, it's important that I work in something that I'm passionate about, and then there's no work. Right. That whole sentence of do what you love and you never work a day in your life.
Right.
Even though I'm working all the time, literally 7 days a week, because I'm either a veterinarian or at the yoga studio.
Yep.
I don't really feel like I'm working because I love what I do on both ends.
Right. Well, I'm going to tell you, your passion comes through day to day to day. And so all of our listeners out here, where can we find you? What was the best place to find you?
So physically, you can find us right off the circle in Park West. So Route 17 in Park West, where they join, there's a circle there, and there's the first little set of buildings. So physically, we're right there at the entry to Park West. Digitally, you can find us on www.Powerglow Yoga.
And on Instagram as well?
On Instagram and Facebook, same thing, Powerglow Yoga.
Okay. And you have something in the works, maybe another location?
Oh, my brain is always in the works.
Okay. All right. That's
always.
fair.
I don't have anything, concrete yet, but I'm always thinking of, I'm doing this now, where am I going next?
Right.
On both vet front and yoga front.
Well, whatever you're doing is fantastic. Thank you so much for coming. We're going to wrap this thing up. This has been a total blast. Vedrana.
Well, Scott, I love having you in the studio, and I'm delighted that you invited me here, and thank you for your time.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
Hey y'all, that's a wrap on today's episode. Thanks so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to like or follow or subscribe, whatever platform you're on, just hit the button to make sure you don't miss any future episodes.
Yep, and please help us grow the channel by sharing it with someone else who might enjoy it as well. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.